Happy Friday to everybody. Thanks for clicking on to the European Outlook for today, the 21st of March, and this is the current pressure pattern across the continent at the moment. The sun may be shining here in northern UK, but it is a rather blustery one out there and starting to feel that little bit colder over the next few days as northwesterly winds drag in actually Greenland origin air mass, but it's moderated significantly as it moves over the warmer than average sea surface temperatures of the North Atlantic. So this is the current pressure difference here between a plus 1034 millibar area of high pressure over the mid-Atlantic versus a 958 millibar area of low pressure just to the east of Iceland. You can see here that we have got a very squeezed pressure field between the two air masses, and therefore we are seeing some very strong winds coming in from a westerly direction. It's really once the winds veer more northwesterly that we're going to start to plug in to something colder. Temperatures even here in northern UK has notched up to above 12 Celsius this afternoon, feeling a little bit fresher in that wind. So there is the 1034 millibar area of high pressure well to the west southwest of the UK and Ireland. There's the centre of that low. But if you look at the Iceland pressure chart, you can see that we've got the centre of low pressure at actually at 959 millibars just off the east coast. If we skip back one frame, you can see where it was actually down to 958 millibars. So a very deep area of low pressure to say the least here. This is the current radar across the British Isles, and we'll look at temperatures in just a second. Outbreaks of rain over southern and western portions of Scotland. Northern England, we've got some very heavy outbreaks of precipitation across southern provinces of Northern Ireland and also the Republic of Ireland. Some very heavy rainfall moving into Donegal and the west coast of Ireland at the time of recording. We've got some areas of rain also across more southern and southeastern portions of the UK. Along the Yorkshire coast, we've got some outbreaks of rain also to speak about. This is the current temperature profile across the continent. Relatively cooler across the north, but milder dominates the majority of Europe. We've got some very warm temperatures, actually surprisingly warm up here. Probably some Fern effect associated with this, but 27 Celsius, very toasty day on the northwest coast of Spain. And like I say, even across northern UK, we've got temperatures as high as 14 in Aberdeenshire. The reason why is those strong westerly winds is creating a little bit of Fern effect as they cross and downslope the Grampian Mountains here. So you've got the Dice Airport reporting 14 Celsius at the moment. We've got a 12 at Tain. And then as we move into southern portions, we've got a little bit of chillier, especially where the rain is falling at the moment across parts of northwestern Ireland, southern Northern Ireland, northern England, southern Scotland. Temperatures subdued at around 8 or 9 Celsius. So you can see here where the temperatures are slightly fresher. We've got 17 Celsius, as you can see here at St James's Park in central London at the moment. So, but they make the most of the milder conditions. Now, we did a couple of days ago see the spring equinox, which means that the sun has now crossed to the north of the equator. So therefore, we are firmly into spring, astronomically speaking. A couple of days previous to that, we've seen the spring equilux, which means equal day and night. But now days are longer than nights are. And as you know, once we get to the final early morning Sunday of the end of March, we will see the change of the clocks as well. So we are going to see a dramatic difference even compared to what we've got now in terms of the clear nights. I think mornings get a little bit darker for a period of time, but nighttime temperatures are going to be significantly longer. Not nighttime temperatures, daytime daylight. I'll get there eventually. You know the script by now with Marky Boy. He always has to muck up something. There's no getting away from that. A couple of interesting tweets here, by the way, I want to look at. We will look at this in the upcoming live stream on Sunday, all being well. But looks as if temperatures have now notched down to minus 67.4. So obviously, with the sun now creeping into the northern hemisphere sky, we've now got increasing increasingly short daylight in the southern latitudes of our planet, and the temperatures in recent times has got down to a new minimum, not only for the for Antarctica and the southern hemisphere, but actually globally. This is a new minimum of minus 67.4 Celsius was reported at 1954 local time at Concordia Research Station. And the previous coldest temperature was minus 66.3 on the 2nd of March at Concordia. So some fairly cold temperatures, as would be expected to be the case in Antarctica as daylight grows ever shorter. Interesting tweet here coming out of Slovakia here. Something like a new tradition. Almost all the lowest temperatures at the beginning of astronomical spring. So, just a day or so ago, we've seen a temperature reach minus 5 Celsius in the lowlands of southern Slovakia. And which is quite interesting about this is some of the coldest temperatures post turn of the astronomical spring has been in the last 6 years, where we've seen unusually cold temperatures: 2018, 2021, and 2022. 2024 is added into the mix as well, with some fairly cold temperatures for low-lying areas of Slovakia. And this was a tweet yesterday here by the Met Office showing the gales developing across northern UK. We've had some very gusty winds, of course, as well. Also going to be speaking about this in the live stream on Sunday. Winter just gone has seen the Canary Islands record its warmest winter on record. So that is since records began anyway, with no snow reported on Mount Teedy. And this is the first time that there has been no snow reported on Mount Teedy. That's the highest elevation anywhere within the Canary Archipelago since 1916, when the observatory started recording. Also, we have a water emergency in Tenerife at the moment because of severe drought. So heat and drought kind of coincide with one another, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming months down here in the Canaries, where you typically don't expect to see much in the way of precipitation. This could be quite a significant thing as we move into the warmer months here. So I thought I would quickly touch on that and a couple of interesting facts. I think Rio de Janeiro down in Brazil also recorded a heat index of 62.3 Celsius a couple of days ago, which is a new record for the Rio de Janeiro area of Brazil. So we will also look at that in the global weather report coming up this Sunday as well. So plenty of things to interested in. There's always something going on globally, and that is why I like to do the live stream on a Sunday. I like to do the global weather report, looking at the big picture as to what's happening around the world at any really given day, so to speak. So let's have a look and see what the overview chart is indicating here. So this is the current setup. We've got the 1034 versus the 957.58 millibar area of low pressure at the moment. We've got those strong westerly winds. We've got a boundary that is sinking south, introducing something a little bit colder. Now this is off the GFS model. We'll look at the ECM in just a second. So as you can see here, as we move into the day tomorrow, those winds turn more northwesterly. That is going to introduce that polar maritime air, with origin being up over Greenland, moderated significantly as it crosses that warmer than average North Atlantic here. There's that area of high pressure starting to kind of poke its nose, extend its way up into southern Greenland. As that area of low pressure, currently at 958 millibars, that sinks south and increases those winds. We are going to just continue to blow a bit of a gale out of the northwest. Then at north, you notice here that we've got the GFS indicating some wintry precipitation, especially up over higher ground. By the way, this is not going to be a low level snow event by any stretch, but nonetheless, we are going to introduce something a lot colder as we push through the course of the weekend. Blustery showers, gale force westerly winds. Where the winds are lighter, we are going to see an overnight frost. Central and northern portions of the British Isles may escape some frost because of windier conditions up here near the centre of the low. The further south you go, the more chance you've got relaxed winds, clear skies, and overnight frost. especially away from towns and cities where the temperatures may hover just above the freezing mark in cities such as Manchester, Birmingham, down towards London. But get into the countryside, you are likely to see 0 or slightly below. Then, as we move into the latter half of the weekend, you can start to see that we spread out the isobars. We'll lose that area of low pressure. There is another feature moving in, or attempting to, from the west. But in that clear slot, we could see some fairly chilly temperatures, overnight frost, for example, in a more broader fashion. But as we move towards the early portions of next week, low pressure moves in and it essentially sticks around through the majority of next week here. But what is interesting to note here is while we're going to see a bit of a washing machine over the UK of that kind of spinning around of the air mass, showers, longer spells of rain, hill snow possible as well, we're also going to be close to cold air, and there is some interesting little rumblings in the models with regards to snow on the northern flank of that low. Now, this latest run of the GFS is indicating that we have this next system coming in. Now, we've got a new system moving into Iberia. We've got another moving up into the southern and central portions of the UK, just enhancing the already unsettled theme across the UK and Ireland here. And then as we move towards the end of the month, through the Easter weekend and into early April, we are going to see the development of higher pressure, further north, lower pressure getting displaced to the south. And this is all indicative of both the MJO phase 7 into 8 and also the stratospheric warming that took place a couple of weeks ago. I think this is all the byproduct of what took place both within the tropics and within the polar stratosphere as well. Let's have a look at the ECMWF because this kind of caught my attention, if I'm being honest with you. So if we play back through the loop here and see what takes place, there's the frontal system kind of moving east, southeast, going to weaken as it moves southeast. We increase the winds more from a northwesterly as opposed to a westerly direction, introduces something a little bit colder. That area of low pressure is at 969 millibars, not that far to the north of the mainland, also the Northern Isles as well. Very strong, biting northwesterly wind. Precipitation falling as snow above 300 or 400 meters, as you can see here. And then as that cold air continues to dig, we may see the snow level dropping somewhat, may have some impacts on some high road routes, northern England, possibly northern Scotland as well. It remains to be seen just how much cold air we see. And then as we play it through to the weekend, we've got that area of low pressure just to the east of the British Isles, continuing with that northerly airflow here, keeping the cold feel going, temperatures subdued. Daytime temperatures, especially across the north, you're probably only talking 7 to 10 Celsius, probably even slightly less than that actually. Further south, low, 10, 11, 12 Celsius at very best. The far north of the UK may struggle to get much above 5 or 6 Celsius with that northerly airflow. Then we see the break, like the GFS, higher pressure for a short period of time. We may see a fairly cold morning, late Sunday into early Monday morning, depending on the time of the next frontal system. But this is what gets interesting here through the course of next week. Notice here that we've got the high pressure building across between Iceland, between Greenland and Scandinavia. We've got this area of low pressure that is kind of winding up, but all the while we've got a feed of fairly cold air, Arctic air, that is moving southwards here. And what that's doing is forcing the area of low pressure to start sinking a little bit further south. But nonetheless, we've got energy that's trying to push north. So as we've got the cold air coming south, we've got energy, low pressure, trying to move frontal systems northwards. And if that can manage to engage with the cold air in place, again, depending on the time of day as well, when you've got middle afternoon, when you've got the strengthening sun beaming down, even on a cloudy day, you've got strength in that sun now that does a work. During the overnight period, there is a small chance that we could see winteriness right down the low levels here. And remember, early April snowfall is not completely out of the question here. It is not exceptionally unusual by any means, but this is certainly a very phase 7, phase 8, and also stratospheric warming byproduct type pattern development here, blocking, slowing down of the jet stream winds. We're starting to see the buckling. We're seeing areas of low pressure getting forced southwards into more southern climes, in other words, Iberia, into northern Africa, with this type of situation here. And this certainly could be quite an interesting battleground between systems trying to push energy north, cold Arctic air coming south here. It really is all to play for as we move through the course of next week here. So let's have a final look here at the potential of snow. Now, the ECMWF is always a little bit overdone when it comes to snowfall, but nonetheless, we'll have a wee look at it anyway, and then we'll look at the GFS and finish off. So this is snow prospects into the first half of tomorrow. Remember, we've got the winds turning more northwesterly. We've got snow potential dropping in terms of elevation. We've got the snow potential starting to fall down. And you can see here the West Highlands, Central Highlands, even parts of southwestern Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, parts of the Republic of Ireland, Western Wales, Northern England, over high ground. The ECMWF is projecting accumulating snow. And then it's as we move later into next week here and towards this would be early next week. This is definitely overdone, folks. There's no getting away from that, but certainly nonetheless, that is quite an interesting looking snow chart here of the model. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how much we get, how much colder we get. Before we look at the GFS, in fact, we'll go back and look at the 850s. That's actually something that I meant to do, and I'd forgotten to look at here. So let's go back to the Europe view, North Atlantic 850s, and you can see what I'm talking about here with regards to the cold trying to come south, warm trying to come north, and you've got this battleground, so to speak. So there's the cold air coming in, area of low pressure just off the west coast of the UK and Ireland here. That is trying to pull in something milder from a southwesterly direction, but nonetheless, to the north of that system, we've got some very cold air, very, very cold air, not that far to the north of the British Isles. So this is the early portions of next week, and look at the battleground. All depends on the positioning of low pressure and exactly whether it's west, east, south, north. That is going to dictate where the air mass is getting plugged from. Have an area of low pressure just to the west. You've got warmer air trying to come up from the south. All the while, we've got high pressure, quite strong high pressure to the north and northwest of the British Isles. That is then drawn that bitterly cold air southwards. And the UK really does find itself in the battleground. But with low pressure trying to move energy north, and you've got the cold air over central and northern UK, you have that chance of seeing some significant snow over high elevations. I have to emphasize that point. It's over high elevations. But you notice here as we progress from early to mid next week, the cold air remains anchored according to the ECMWF, and that means that we maintain this chilly theme. Further south you go, the slightly milder the air mass is, but that is certainly a very interesting look on the models as we go into the next week and end the month of March here. Let's have a real quick look at the snow potential of the GFS model, and you can see here what it's showing. So we'll get to the UK view and we'll get a better scope on things. So this is the GFS model. It's indicating some reasonable snow cover over high elevations of Scotland here. Nothing really to write home about elsewhere across the British Isles here. So you can see a big difference. The ECMWF is always overdone when it comes to snow potential here. You can see that it is sniffing out something across parts of Wales as we move towards the end of next week here. So certainly a cold final week of March to come. It's still open to question with regards to the Easter weekend, but I will be issuing an Easter 2024, that is. I will be issuing a forecast early next week for that weekend, so stay tuned for that on the website. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll be back again tomorrow with the final weekday video here on Marvel and Weather. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.